Today, contrary to the public knowledge, heliocentrism is still based entirely on assumptions. It must be assumed that the sun is stationary. It must be assumed that the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. It must be assumed that the earth is orbiting the sun annually at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour. It must be assumed that the earth is tilted on an axis of 23.5 degrees. It must be assumed that the earth's atmosphere is also rotating at 1,000 miles per hour, keeping birds, clouds, jets, and low-orbit satellites in perfect synchronization. It must be assumed that the stars do not move around the earth, as they have been observed to do by everyone who has ever lived in all of history. It must be assumed that the reason the Earth's diametric orbit of 300 million kilometers does not produce any noticeable stellar parallax is because the stars are too many trillions of miles away. If just one of these assumptions are false, then the entire heliocentric model falls apart, and not one of them has ever been proven. Nobody has ever proven that the Earth is spinning. Nobody has ever used verifiable facts to prove any of these things. In today's culture, from the moment children are old enough to absorb information, they are inundated with imagery of heliocentrism and the solar system. From infancy, we are made to absorb the idea that heliocentrism is as self-evident as the Pacific Ocean. We are raised up into science fiction Star Trek worlds where galaxies are infinite and there is no center to any of it. We are continually reinforced with the idea that Earth is just another planet out of trillions, hurtling meaninglessly through outer space. By the time we are adults, this idea has been so thoroughly hammered into our brains that to even hint that we may stand on a motionless Earth is considered absolutely insane. The simple truth that our senses inform us have all but been censored. Nobody is told that there's a geocentric model that has been working just as well since the 16th century. Nobody is told that the use of a heliocentric model has been based on philosophical assertions that Earth could not possibly be the center of the universe. However, it is readily admitted by modern-day astronomers that there is no real difference between a helio and geocentric model. Astronomer Sir Fred Hoyle states, quote, "We know that the difference between a heliocentric theory and a geocentric theory is one of relative motion only, and that such a difference has no physical significance. Today we cannot say that the Copernican theory is right and a geocentric theory is wrong in any meaningful sense. The two theories are physically equivalent to one another." Cosmologist George Ellis states, "I can construct you a spherically symmetrical universe with Earth at its center, and you cannot disprove it based on observations. You can only exclude it on philosophical grounds. The fact is we are using philosophical criteria in choosing our models. A lot of cosmology tries to hide that." Tycho Brahe, in the same time as Copernicus, he was a renowned and highly respected astronomer. He rejected the Copernican model of heliocentrism and advanced a geocentric one that became widely accepted for its accuracy and usefulness. Tycho Brahe's geocentric model has never been disproven. The geocentric model is still used today in all the applied sciences. In the last couple years of his life, Tycho formed a partnership with Johannes Kepler, who was a devout heliocentrist. After being suspiciously poisoned to death, all of Tycho's works were conveniently transferred to Kepler due to the partnership. Tycho is even reported to have begged Kepler not to use his work to promote heliocentrism. So, Johannes Kepler, 16th century. He had a religious attachment to a heliocentric universe. He even regarded the sun as, quote, God the Father. It's safe to say Kepler had no problems with seeing Tycho's work on geocentrism flushed down the memory hole and forgotten. 2 generations before Isaac Newton, Kepler conceived of ideas about gravity, written alongside various lunatic fantasies. He wrote about a group of demons that lived in the shadow of the moon, which could travel to the Earth during lunar eclipses. He also believed the moon was covered with alien creatures. Kepler's own mother, who had at one time been charged with 49 counts of witchcraft, was written by Kepler to have constantly communed with the moon. For some reason, Kepler was convinced that the Earth was spinning. He reasoned that if he could send people to the moon, they would be able to see the spinning of the Earth in real time. He reasoned that the moon demons could carry people there, or that they could be shot out of a high-powered cannon and be sucked into the moon's gravity. In short, Kepler was a straight lunatic and religiously attached to heliocentrism. And this is also where our modern idea of universal gravitation comes from. And then Galileo, he shared a devout faith in heliocentrism that he wrote about privately with Kepler. Galileo became convinced early in life of the truth of the Copernican theory, but did not openly promote his beliefs until later. He believed and championed Copernicism and the belief that the Earth was moving, without any evidence at all. These people had religious attachments to putting the Earth in motion around the sun. None of this was based on evidence at all. And now we move to Isaac Newton. The impact of Newton's gravity hypothesis accelerated greatly the descent of theoretical science into metaphysics and mythology. In his 1687 work, Principia, Newton simply asserted that there was a law of gravitation that would apply anywhere and everywhere in the universe, despite the fact that Newton knew virtually nothing about any celestial motions outside our so-called solar system. In Sir Isaac Newton and Modern Astronomy, Neville Martin Gwynne writes, quote, "From childhood on, you and I have been beguiled into accepting a cosmological card castle for which there is not a shred of common sense or solid proof. The whole post-Copernican kit and caboodle is a rickety structure of assumptions based on extrapolations gained from theories built on postulates distilled from observations susceptible to alternate interpretations. It is not scientific, it is not even sane, and yet almost the whole of modern astronomy and the sciences related to it are based on that assumption." We believe the Earth moves because there has been over 400 years of satanically motivated, increasingly sophisticated indoctrination coming forth from the science establishment telling us that it moves. No one has ever seen or felt the Earth moving at any speed. No one has ever seen the sun do anything but rise, go westward across the sky, and set. No one has ever seen the moon go eastward as it must in the Copernican system. It always rises in the east like the sun, goes westward, and sets in the west. We believe otherwise because we've been taught otherwise, just like people throughout history have believed all kinds of deceptions and called them truths. The wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. The public has trusted the physicists, trusted them perhaps more than any other group, but in time, people will learn that the physicists are no more immune to the perverse motivational currents of the times than any other professional people. Scientists have enormous vested interest in protecting their theories, and the lazy, servile adherence of many physicists to pompous, conventional dogma makes them leaders in the downward trend of civilization. For 72 years, humanity has been browbeaten by an incomparably brazen bit of pseudoscience, Einsteinism, because its perpetrators have defended it by using mathematics, which, though valid in itself, is not applied in relation to objective facts that are analyzed logically in the real world. Recondite kinds of higher mathematics have been falsely used to create an awesome, esoteric language whereby the initiated elite have set themselves apart from the world and have labeled all dissenters as quacks. Censorship is in total control of all areas of knowledge, all the natural sciences, all the social sciences, all the arts and humanities. Everything about which man has knowledge, has been stood on its head in order to contradict the real objective facts that are analyzed logically in the real world. The real facts, the real logic, the real world, which confirm a creator, not the counterfeit facts, the counterfeit logic, designed to promote meaningless, accidental, purposelessness explosions of matter. If we use our brains for 1 minute, we know that a million kinds of eyes and brains and reproductive systems and all the foods and roots and flowers, etc., could never form out of an explosion of matter. We know it. And when we use our brains for 1 minute, we know that the Earth cannot be traveling through space at 30 times the speed of a rifle bullet. We know it. When we use our brains for 1 minute, we know that mankind has been deceived by false science, using crazy mathematics, into denying the creation of God. Just by looking at Genesis, it is clear that the earth was specially formed first, and the other stars, including the sun, were created afterwards. There is no mention of earth being put into motion, and the Bible explicitly states that the earth cannot be moved.